16.3 Coaching Session Review and Development Plan. Session aims understanding of how to set up a multi-activity under a main event, group work, building teamwork skills, shot put throwing technique, rules of shot put, development of jumping technique, development of sprinting techniques. We did a point system in order to make the thing more engaging and try and create some competition between each team. And then if a team wasn't doing so well, and then I would award a best technique points, which would then help the losing team catch up with the winning team. This is a risk assessment. Yeah, and then this is what we did for the warm up. Alice led the Foxes and Fathers. Well, actually, it was mainly Alice, but we did a kind of a joint coaching, and then the participant, and then Alice divided the participants into groups, and then we led the equipment relay together and started doing the stretches. And then I led the dynamic stretches and make sure that they all did proper pulse raising exercises and some dynamic stretches. This was one of the main activities, sprinting, which was led by me. I coached this and tried to teach the coaching points on how to do the proper sprinting technique. Then Alice demonstrated and showed the standing long jump, and then shot put was kind of a joint coaching. Then for the relay, we had to adapt the relay because as the ground was wet, they couldn't be running and turning quickly because they had slip and fall. So what we did was just made it into some sprints instead. And after that, we did a cool down, which was led by me. They were jogging behind me, and then we did some static stretches after that. Okay, so this is after the session. Here's the aims and objectives again. So here are my strengths: preparation, use of additional resources to aid coaching, loud and control of the group, the warm-up and stretches are relevant, and adaptations. Planning cool down was more of a warm-up, which was a weakness. As when we were jogging, it ended up being a bit competitive, and we started running quite quickly. Then we did a progression in skill development. Also, I needed to work on doing my coaching points consistently, along with technical instruction and dealing with things such as asthma. And then here's some of the opportunities I did to better my coaching. So we have first aid courses, observing coaches and teachers, public speaking courses, sports specific level 1, work experience at primary schools, ask local clubs coach for coaching drills and coaching points and drills. So for the first aid, it's free. It takes a day to complete, and through it you learn how to deal with people who are unresponsive and breathing, unresponsive and not breathing, having a seizure, choking, bleeding heavily, suffering from shock, burnt, dealing with an emergency, assessing a casualty, monitoring a casualty, where to get help, electrical incidents, accident recording and reporting, control of substance hazards to health. For the athletics level 1 course, it costs £50 to do. It takes 2 days to complete, and it covers understanding fundamental movement skills, introduction to athletes 365, delivering warm-up and cool-downs, coaching through fun, safe and enjoyable games, delivering speed work and endurance-based activities, and understanding the mechanics of jumping and throwing and the principles of session planning. Work experience, it's free. It takes a week to do, and you don't learn. You don't. There's not a content you cover. You just learn through your experience. And then public speaking costs £280. It takes 1 day to complete, and you learn body awareness, vocal delivery, and nerves in the mind. Some of the problems, especially with public speaking, is that it's very expensive. The nearest public speaking I could find was in London, so it takes time to travel to get there, and it's not very convenient. And also, there's a limited for the athletics level one course. There's limited places to do that course. So here I identified three strengths from what my peers told me and from what I thought. The use of additional sources. We used pictures and laminated sheets for a list, which meant that the participants were more engaged and they communicated to one another to make sure they followed and completed the list with equipment they need to retrieve and bring back to the group. It also made the session more interesting for the participants because it was different to all the sessions. It gave variation, which helped make the session more engaging. Adaptations. This was a very good strength because we were prepared to adapt for the weather or if we didn't have the equipment needed. Our additional resources sheets were laminated to make sure that if it was raining, which it had recently, wouldn't ruin the sheets for the participants to look at. Another adaptation was when I made was that when the participants were sprinting as the grass was wet, I made sure that they had to walk when reaching the end rather than quickly turn around and carry on sprinting in case someone slept and fell, which could lead to an injury. And then um, another adaptation was when we needed the shot put equipment, but because there was no shot puts to use, we had to use these special howlers, which we could still demonstrate the same technique. It was just we had to change the technique a little bit so it would fit for that type of equipment, but we still gave the coaching points and demonstration. And this meant that we could stick to our plan and try teach the participants the coaching points. Warm up and stretches. At the beginning of the session, I made sure that participants did some pulse raising exercises and dynamic stretches to try to engage them and to prevent injury. We started off with Foxes and Farmers, which is an engaging exercise and gets the blood circulating around the body faster. Then we did an equipment relay, so the participants were warming up and having fun at the same time as they needed to communicate to one another in order to be successful. After this was the dynamic stretches. I asked the group who knew some dynamic stretches to try and make it more interesting and engaging. So then when one stretch was announced, I stand at the front of the group with the person who said it and demonstrated how it is done for the participants to follow. So I would talk through it and demonstrate it, and then I would carry on doing it once they were doing it as well. So here's one of my areas for improvement. It was technical instruction. I gave the coaching points at the beginning of the activities that I coached, but didn't demonstrate alongside the instruction. This meant that some participants didn't understand what to do properly during the activity, so when performing, they didn't perform as well as they should have done, and it didn't stick to the instruction. This also meant that they didn't learn the sum of the skill, which is a part of my learning objectives. My development plan is to be able to demonstrate whilst giving technical instruction effectively. I plan to do this in a month and become from 3 out of 5 confident to a 5 out of 5 confident. Then the way I'm going to do this is by using some work experience at a primary school to practice explaining and demonstrating through activities with young kids. As they are young, we'll need to practice using more simplistic language for the children to understand during the activity. Another way I'm going to be this is by observing another coach or teacher in a session, so I can pick up different coaching techniques, which will help different participants with their learning, as everyone prefers to be coached differently and learn differently. Another area for improvement was dealing with medical issues such as asthma. One of the participants was refusing to fully engage in activities because he had asthma. I didn't fully know how to approach the situation, but because I didn't want the participant to get an asthma attack, I didn't know what to do, so I've kind of just let him get away with not doing the activities properly. This resulted in the participant not listening to given instructions and interrupt the session, causing others to slow down and distract others. To combat this, I plan to become fully confident in dealing with participants medically and know how to respond to certain situations such as injuries or asthma. This should be hopefully achieved within a week, and I'll become from 1 out of 5 confident to fully 5 out of 5 confident. I'm going to do this by attending and completing a first aid course to become a qualified first aider. Once I have completed the course, I will go back and do another session, which I would feel a lot more confident and ready to react to any given medical situation. My last area for improvement is progression and skill development. This is one of my weaknesses because during the activities the participants were not improving or fully understanding the task at hand. During the activity there was some competition between some players which helped them perform better, but in terms of technique the participants didn't really take away much from the session. Within the next 6 months, I'm hoping to develop and improve my coaching of skills and progression in order to make my sessions more effective and worthwhile. After the development, I should be a 2 out of 5 confident to a 5 out of 5 level of confidence in teaching skill and progression. To do this, I'm going to participate in a level 1 athletics coach course, which will cover this skill and progression, but will also help me all around. During this course, not only will I be able to be more confident, but also get a qualification out of it and can move on to higher courses and become more qualified to do other things, as I will be more knowledgeable and have more experience.